That's just stupid.
Hey guys, it's Sophia with Kamikaze Kiwi, here with Booth Babe Tony, and we just got done seeing X-Men Apocalypse. We actually really liked this movie, and we're gonna review it, spoiler free, in my favorite form, a list.
Yay!
So, the music was really good in this one. For me, X-Men, take it or leave it with music and sound design, but they're doing really good. Again, like, I don't know if like Marvel has like an in-house guy and they're just starting to use him on everything that is Marvel Studios related or what, but it's going much better, I think.
This movie is set in the 80s, and all of the 80s references are really cool. It's well themed, the cars are there, the house styles are there, the clothing, and the, again, the music. There's some 80s music in there that's
the
a lot
fashion,
of fun.
and the, like, sometimes even like the vernacular and the dialect that they use, like some of the dialogue reflects that 80s kind of culture, and that's kind of fun, and I think it's a little reminiscent of the cartoon as well. So that's kind of, I like that.
You like that?
I do. The introduction and additions of characters. So you're gonna see characters you haven't seen before, and you're gonna see the characters that you have seen before in either their younger or newer kind of updated version. So that's actually, I was really worried about it, but it's actually done pretty well. The characters that you're used to seeing, for instance, you know, Storm is no longer played by Halle Berry. It's a younger Storm, and it's interesting to see little tidbits of their background and origin story in this, but it doesn't overwhelm the film.
Yeah, one of the great additions is Nightcrawler. He is
So
excellent in this movie. His CGI is good, his costuming is good, his, you know, the body paint, and just like the person who plays him does a good job. And I always enjoy Nightcrawler's character. He's a cool, like,
he's a cool guy.
he's a cool guy. He's like, oh, I look like a devil, but I believe in God.
But
Bring that in a little bit
yeah,
there.
they do bring in kind of some of his faith. They also have this wonderful, like, in America now feel to him,
Oh, yeah.
which is kind of adorable and
It is.
adds to his character a whole lot. Speaking of characters that are awesome, Quicksilver. We love him. We loved him in the last one. His scene is awesome. I mean, sweet dreams are made of Quicksilver. That's just all there is to it.
This movie is better than its trailer. I felt like the opposite was true for Ultron, Age of Ultron. The trailer was, I feel like, better than the movie, but for this movie, the movie is better. I thought like there's a lot of in the trailer, Apocalypse, like, we're gonna build a better world. It's gonna be so good, guys. Bring hot dogs.
It's typical.
It is.
And
But they,
dogs?
yeah, hot dogs. You know, for the cookout.
roasting of the world.
But they kind of changed where the lines are for the trailer, and it works really well in the movie. The trailer is very much like there's like a big summer blockbuster. There's like buildings falling down or whatever, and no one cares. Right? We've seen that before.
We've seen it.
But the movie is more character driven and pushes the story along with the characters, and that's what makes a good story.
Definitely. With that too, the humor is just really well done. You didn't think, from the trailer, you didn't think there was going to be a lot of humor. And there is, and it's good humor, well-timed, well-placed. Sometimes humor can feel a little abrupt, especially in a fairly serious movie. But actually, to me, it reminded me a lot of The Avengers. The first one, where you had your serious, you had your moments, and then you had humor. Can I take the next one?
Well, I was just gonna say there's not too much of it. Sometimes
There's
it's
no,
too
yeah,
much.
no. There's not too much humor. You're
No.
not gonna be laughing versus being entertained or action. The next one, CGI. Okay, so there's a lot of sand-ish stuff going on here. There's a lot of like hoofing and teleportation. Of course, Mystique's changing, body shifting.
It's as good as ever.
As good as ever. All those things were really, really good. I was surprised. I was worried. There are some CGI parts that are just top-notch.
And then the sound design for Apocalypse's voice, going back to the trailer a little bit, the sound design for his voice, I feel like for the trailer they pulled it back a little bit. Like, okay, so this is going to be a little bit too weird for some people, but when the movie came out, they deepened it, they added some deeper tones and some more aggressive listens to the voice.
It
It sounded much better.
You really liked that?
Yes, it did.
Oh, I hated that.
Oh, well, you're wrong.
Hey! I hated Apocalypse's voice. I got on my nerves. It is so stereotypical, like big man, big god, and kind of like that more than one voice overlay, deep booming. I didn't like it. It bothered me. Now, I will say this, it does remind me a little bit of kind of the sound work from the cartoons. I didn't like that though, because there was so much about this that wasn't like the cartoons. The slight homages are fine, but like that, it felt like a cheap 90s trick. I didn't care for it.
Another con was there's a lot of standing around and not doing a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like the good guys did a whole lot, but the bad guys, I didn't feel like I ever knew like what they could do. They're like, we look real good in our outfits. I'm Olivia Munn. I'm Psylocke. I could kick your bootay.
Or
Same
why
thing,
they were on his side.
Yeah.
Almost, like, because they're standing around, but and it's not even a lot of talking while they're standing around.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dirty faces and standing.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of dirty faces, Jennifer Lawrence is her Katniss-iest that she has ever been. And the reason why I say that, again, that Hunger Games dirty face, pulled back hair in a tight suit, kind of J-Law that we know and love. I'm not saying she did a bad job. A lot of people think that because this is her last one that she kind of phoned it in. I don't think that's true. I think she did well. But that doesn't change that her character was very much like the reluctant hero. Oh, I'm not a hero. Oh, they inspire you. Oh, I'm not a hero. Oh, but they look up to you. I was just doing what I had to do. I was just protecting my family. I was just doing this. I don't want to be the leader. And then, of course, she ends up being the leader. And it almost, because you have seen her in that role so very firmly planted in another universe, it was a little bit, I feel like they could have written her better, is really what it comes down to. Because she's not an uninteresting character. And Jennifer Lawrence is not a bad actress. So I was a little disappointed in that.
Yeah. Well, what I was disappointed in was that Quicksilver, we all know Quicksilver is going to have a scene in this movie. Duh. He was so good in the last one. It was super fun. But in this one, like, it's really cool to watch, but it just feels like a cheat. It's like, okay, whenever there's problems, just give Quicksilver a call because he can fix it all. If there's anyone who needs saving, just call Quicksilver because he can do everything.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's his power, but it's just...
He's a little OP.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, and it's interesting because while he's a little OP and some of the other characters are, the movie raises the stakes too high too quickly. So, this team is completely undeveloped. They are not the X-Men. They're not. And this school is not the school for X-Men. It is a student-driven school. And almost like a college, almost like a community college feel or a boarding school feel.
More like boarding school.
Yeah, definitely. But it's one of those things where the stakes are so high, the team is so underdeveloped that you have to have characters like Quicksilver, like Magneto, like Professor X. There's not a lot of teamwork necessarily. You have to get those OP characters to come and take care of Apocalypse because they're the only ones that can. And so I didn't like that. That was very jarring for me.
There's some cliche lines in there as well. It's like, you know, the comic book lines, like Marvel has done a really good job, Marvel Studios has done a really good job of taking those cliche lines and making them not feel as cliche. But this one, there was a few spots where the lines like,
yeah.
That makes me feel awkward to be a superhero nerd.
That you know those cliche lines? Or
Well, that I was like, oh. I'm not here.
For me, one of the things is, and you see it in the trailers, Apocalypse loves pyramids. So at the very beginning, you see where the Egyptian slaves have built these pyramids. Later on, he builds that shit in 10 minutes. Why are we wasting this time and giving control to the lesser people whenever he can just build it? And the thing is, it's the same pyramid, but it's not the same design. So clearly the Egyptian people had to build it, which is also what gives them the ability to totally double cross them. If you could do it, you should have just done it. I don't know, that bothered me a lot. That bothered me a lot because he got it done like that.
Yeah. Also sometimes, people's powers are just undefined. Kind of like, what are the powers? We don't know.
I don't know. Can you build a pyramid?
Yeah. I have sand powers. I have magical love powers. So,
okay, sure.
I can just bring people back to life. Or maybe I can't. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he was never dead. Maybe he was dead. Maybe everybody dies. Maybe nobody dies.
Maybe it's all in your mind.
Maybe it's all in your mind.
Maybe it's just a movie.
Maybe this is in your mind. Like it is just a movie. That undefined goes a bit further. So Magneto digs real deep. So deep, in fact, that he can start manipulating metal in the ground. Like, kind of at a molecular level. So we're talking, you know, because naturally the Earth has nickel, iron, things like that. My problem is this: if you can start manipulating metallics at a molecular level, there is iron in the human body. Does he get to start manipulating humans now? Because that's nonsense.
Again, the CGI at some points, like,
okay.
There's a scene where another character picks up another character. You're like, that's clearly CGI.
Ooh, that's bad.
So clearly CGI.
So some CGI is perfect, but the CGI that's not perfect is like the Mummy from the 90s level, not perfect. Like the very beginning, and I actually leaned over to him. I'm like, is it supposed to be this cheesy? And I think that it was. I think they did it purposefully, but I don't know why. And so there are some points where I was just like, ooh, ah. Now, what they did get right with CGI though, Wolverine's claws.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's in here just for a little bit. That's all we're gonna tell you about him. But the rest of like anything that was kind of metallic-y looking, besides his claws, they didn't put nearly as much effort into.
No. And I feel like this movie, we've kind of gone back and forth, like, oh, this is good, but it also has a bad side. This is really great, but it has a bad side. Yeah. But, yeah.
Now, my favorite con, convenient sunhole is too convenient.
There you go.
I'll let you realize what that means whenever you watch it. Alright, the impertinent
prudes.
Sorry. Origin story, yes or no?
No? I'm gonna go with no.
No? Yes. No. Yes. No. There's a lot of really good bits. There's lots of good bits. Do I think they follow the origins very well? No. Am I offended by it like I was in other movies? Batman vs. Superman. Whoa, I gotta... pardon me. I gotta go to the doctor, apparently. Get that stuff out. It's not offensive. And we've already known with the other X-Men movies that they're not super tight-knit with the origins. So.
That's true.
So it's just kind of whatever. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Love story, yes or no?
Was there one?
There's a small one, and actually it's okay. Alright, music and sound design, yes or no?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, actually, I really liked it. There was some very good music in there.
I'm always down for a little Beethoven.
Yeah, they did a very good use of Beethoven, which, I mean, I guess it's hard to misuse him, unless, like, it's a romantic comedy and you're using Beethoven. But anyways. Alright, so, do the pros outweigh the cons?
Yes.
Enough to see in theaters?
Before the evening, when it's cheap.
Oh, I like it. I think it's worth seeing in theaters regardless. I'm an X-Men fan. I say that even though I actually haven't seen some of the older movies, but I really like the X-Men. I grew up with X-Men. I definitely think it's worth seeing. And then, of course, worth seeing more than once in theaters. You already said matinee only. If you're a huge fan, yes, see it more than once. First time, pay full price for an evening showing. Second time, go to the matinee. Wait till it's in the dollar theater. I personally wouldn't spend that much time and money on it, especially with everything that's coming out this year. That's just me. That being said, I am definitely going to buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray because I did enjoy it quite a bit. Overall, it is very good. It is definitely better than what I expected. I didn't even care if I got here on time today. Actually, and we were a little bit late, thank goodness. Apparently this theater is always a little late, but I'm glad that I saw it, and I came out of the theater a lot more excited than I went in, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. much like most of our videos, there is an post-credit scene. Stay for it. I'm not sure what year we live in that people still leave the theater before making sure there's a post-credit scene. Now, I know that Batman vs. Superman didn't have one, and I know that Civil War had 2 of them. I understand maybe your emotions are just threadbare right now because you never know if there's gonna be one or not. You paid money to see this movie. Just stay. Enjoy the post-credit if it has one, and if not, enjoy not having to fight people for the restroom. Either way, just stay.
I stayed after the movies before it was cool.